I really think if you have not traveled overseas, even to like a third world country, go to a third world country and just experience it. I just implore people to do that because your mind will be changed on a lot of things. Maybe you'd appreciate more what we have here.
So we're starting over today.
No, that's good.
We just had a great beginning, but we're back again. I think my microphone's on. Anyway, John Henry, the Good Hustle podcast, also with Kelly Williams at Central PA. Another new episode, season 2-ish, something like that. I don't know if I'm ever supposed to say those things or not. Season 2, baby.
You made it. You got the funding.
Yeah, we got some funding. We got some sponsors, which we will talk about later. We have some really good sponsors, Deer Valley Land Transfer and A+ Mortgage Solutions, which we'll continue to share about. But today we're actually here with a dear friend of mine, Nathan Nieri. So Nate and I go back a little over 6 years. Nate has been in real estate as an agent as well, but we're not advertising that. So I'm the real estate agent at the table today. But Nate and I go way back. We think we met at RE/MAX, but we're not 100% sure. Might have been with some friends, the Drinkwaters. But if you know me and have been following me for years on Facebook, a little over 6 years ago, I made a basic documentary, really good quality, about my 10 years sobriety and where I had become a drug addict. And Nate was just getting into video stuff, and it was actually Nate's first long form video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of the very, very first.
Yeah. And on Facebook alone, hundreds and hundreds of shares, 70,000 views total. Like, it was for Facebook for a long form 18-minute video. That's a really long time. Or that's a lot of views.
And I think it's the story that resonated with people too.
It is. And the video content, the way we filmed it, we actually went over there and filmed it one day. I don't know if you remember this. We filmed it, but I wasn't listening to you as the director and creator. And I put the microphone underneath my shirt. We filmed on a beautiful sunny day outside, blah, blah, blah. And none of the microphone worked because I had it underneath my shirt. Yeah. Do you remember that?
I do remember. And then I remember we went back, right?
The next day in the rain. And I literally just sat out front and stared at that door and told a story for 26 minutes. I think you ended up cutting about 8 minutes out of it. And it was still an 18-minute video.
I think the rain kind of set a mood, though, for it. I think it worked.
It did.
We were like filming through the window in your truck.
Yeah. And I remember I had on a maroon pullover. I had on a whitetails down hat. I remember being in my Ram. And I remembered it was the first time, let's see, so that would have been 2008, 25 years since I'd been to that location. I drive by it every day. Like, I drive by it at least twice a day, 6602. But I remember, but the crazy part about that video isn't necessarily just the story that came out of it and how well of a job you did with it. It was the amount of people it resonated with. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but the point of this podcast and the point of, I think, the reason God saved my life is to share my story, experience, strength, and hope with others, to at least plant seeds to help people want to get better help, whether it's through mental illness, drug addiction, alcoholism, any type of addiction. But that video hit home with thousands of people that I think got something out of it. And you created that.
Yeah.
My story was, the baseline of it, but you created that.
I'm just blessed that you took a gamble on me and you let me create that and that we were able to do it together.
Look, it was cheap. It was cheap then. So
it was cheap. I'm glad it just touched so many people too. It's awesome.
Honestly, it was one of the greatest things that I've done in my sobriety was creating that video with you, because I'm 16 and a half years sober now, and people still talk about that video. Hey, where's that video at? I want to show it to my friend. Yeah. Like, literally 7 years later almost, people are still talking about it.
We should recreate it.
Yeah, let's do it.
For your 20th?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Actually, we got a really cool one. So I remember early in sobriety, I was struggling. I'm 6 months sober and thinking the world should be fixed already. People would be like, how long did you drink and drug for? I'm like, 17 years. Like, you think you're going to walk into the woods for 17 years? and come out in 6 months. Like, that resonated with me.
Yeah.
So this year, coming September, but by the grace of God, hopefully I'll have 17 years. So I have this like vision of me walking into the woods for 17 years and finally coming out and like breaking through these trees and just like seeing like just the beautiful sky and like the freedom that comes with sobriety. Like, I have this visualization in my head.
Awesome.
I'm excited. But anyway, enough about me. I just wanted to share what
Yeah.
you do. But Nate's done a really great job. So Nate does sell real estate,
Mm-hmm.
but you got into videos obviously 6+ years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, you opened the studio, roughly? Year
It's about a little over a year. So
Little over a year.
January last year.
Oh, so just over a year.
We had this space. Yeah.
Yep. And how many people were you working with at that time? Like scheduled, like, hey, we're doing shows, podcasts. Like how
When
many?
we opened the studio,
Yeah.
I think we had 3 people.
Okay. And today?
And you were one of them.
I was one of them.
So, yeah.
I'm an OG.
Yeah, you were very much an OG.
So, like, over the last year, though, this has blown up for you.
Yeah, it's been doing great. I mean, and I cannot take all the credit. You guys know who Ben is, Ben Giles. He came on board.
What up?
Yeah, he came on board March of last year. So when I opened it in January, I kind of was like, I just needed a space because I knew we were growing. We're going to, and I could really expand this. But it wasn't really until Ben came on in March where we were really able to take off. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without him.
Well, and that's the thing. And it makes us adults because we can admit when we need help. Like, I can't do the things that I do alone. I couldn't do this podcast if it wasn't for your studio, you and Ben. Like, there's other people that have helped my business. Like, even Taylor, my wife, she, like, this morning was like, did you do this, and this? I'm like, can we just calm down this morning? I just want to relax but yeah, we all need help. And there's going to be people that step in our lives that are going to help us every step of the way. And Ben's been a big help.
And the amazing thing is I wasn't even looking. Like, God knew right when I needed it. He put someone in my life and it worked. It's worked out. Yeah, that's how amazing. You kind of followed God's leading,
Yeah.
Things happen like that. And you're like, well, it wasn't me pressuring someone to come on board or looking. It just happened.
Well, and Ben's story is pretty cool that goes with it too, which actually, I think we're going to have Ben on here sometime to talk about it. But Ben went from a profession that had him traveling all across the world, at certain times. And he's also, a father and a husband. And his life was just kind of not going in the exact direction where it should go at your age when, you have a family. It's like, I need to figure some things out to be more connected to my immediates. And I think that, Ben, do you agree that opened a door for you to be able to step in and say, listen, I'm home now. This is where I belong. God has set aside a space for me and I'm going to run with it. And it's changed your life too.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Ben's, and it's been fun to watch the whole thing grow because we film here. People look at the studio and like, it's so professional. It's so beautiful. And it's like, where are we filming today? I sent them the address. They're like, New Kingston.
Yeah.
I'm like,
what is that?
What is that? And they walk into the front of this door and they're like, and they walk in and everybody's eyes light up when they see the studio.
That's cool.
Like it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I get emotional about this stuff because I love to see growth in people. And that's really what this show's about. It's about, people helping people, growth in people, stories where people overcame things. And I didn't say you overcame something, but ultimately you've grown this beautiful atmosphere for people to be able to express themselves, whether it's through podcasts, through photos, through video, whatever it is. You've been so helpful to so many people locally, and it's going to expand for you and continue to grow. And it's just beautiful. So
yeah, I appreciate that.
And that comes from, service work that you do too. So
yeah.
So Nieri Creative, if you don't know it, look it up. They're phenomenal, whether it's real estate photos, videos, podcasts, editing, anything you need. They offer so many different avenues of social media stuff for you, and they've helped grow my business. So, with branding, Nate and Ben have really helped me rebrand myself this year and last year, which has been a huge growth for me. So,
awesome.
But the reason I really wanted to bring Nate on is, hey, everybody, I wanted to talk to you about A+ Mortgage Solutions. They're one of our sponsors, Jeremy and Angie McMichael, not a couple, but they're phenomenal. They are great lenders. They have worked with hundreds of buyers on my team over the last couple of years. If you need help with a mortgage, whether it's a HELOC, a mortgage, anything, any questions you have, refinancing, check the link below. Their information is there. Now back to the episode. Nate's not just a father. He's not just a husband. He's not just a video creator. Nate does a lot of missionary work, and you just took a trip to the Middle East.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of talk about, because this is the things that people don't know that people do.
Mm-hmm.
And this happens a lot in the area. Like I've been involved with numerous churches and, people go to Ghana, people go here, people go there. But let's talk a little bit about you're in a group, a missionary group or a nonprofit called Nomads. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Nomads?
Yeah. So what Nomads is, it's an organization. They're under Tying Vines. Tying Vines is kind of what you would call a mission board. They take care of all the logistics, funding. So if you want to give to Nomads, you would go to Tying Vines. So they're under Tying Vines, and Nomads is an organization that goes to the Middle East and ministers to labor camps.
What
labor camps are is people from all around the world. They go to where jobs are. So most of these people are coming from India, Nepal, Pakistan, all kind of Asian countries, maybe some in Africa. And they'll come to the Middle East to work because there's really nothing where they are, which is kind of sad. So they're laborers. And that's where the Nomads comes from. There's people moving all the way around the world coming to this place. And what they do is these companies that hire these laborers put them in called labor camps. And the reason they do that is that they don't have money to pay to live somewhere. And they want them out of sight, out of mind from everyone else in the area. So they will put them in labor camps, sometimes 12 to a small room.
Wow.
I mean, these are like, the room was just a little bigger than my dorm room in college, and they'll put 12 people in these things. And so the average salary for a laborer is $300 a month. And then they send most of that back home to their families to help support
which to them is a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, but when you're living where they're living, you cannot live on that.
So how do they? So if there's 12 people in a room, how long do people typically stay in a labor? And what type of labor are they doing?
They can stay there for years and years. A lot of it's just manual labor. A lot of it's like hostess, like cleaning and stuff like that. A lot of it's building, construction. I met a lot of painters, people doing concrete work, crane operators. I mean,
Wow.
you go to these areas that are building up quickly, and you ooh and awe at them, like, wow, it's so advanced. But they have extremely cheap labor there to do all this. And people don't understand that. They just think it's all oil money,
Oh.
A lot of it's oil money, but if you look at their GDP, it's nowhere near like some of the wealthiest countries. But so they have all this really, really cheap labor and concentrated wealth, and they're able to grow quickly.
Yeah, so you're either really wealthy or really poor there. Yeah. Not a whole lot of middle class.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how tough is that to view as an outsider coming in, especially being in a place like America where the gap's obviously not that big and we do have a middle class? Like, what is that like for you to see?
It's really strange because I think what's more strange is that the government doesn't want you to know about these people because they almost feel ashamed. Like, so they, there's a lot of tourism in these areas, so they don't want them in the streets. Like, there's no homeless there. Everything's super clean, and a reason that is they put them in these camps.
So how far is a camp from like the city? Like, where do they?
There's a few miles, but maybe distance. But there are camps everywhere throughout this area. I mean, there's probably 100 camps.
How many people?
Thousands of people. Some of the biggest camps have 70,000 people
in one location.
How large they are.
And how big is that camp?
I'm not sure of the square footage, but it's pretty large. I did get an aerial shot of one that's right in the middle of the desert. I mean, you just see desert and sand, and then boom, this giant rectangle of a camp.
How are they bringing food? Like they're eating their water? Like
yeah, they'll bring stuff in there, and each camp is almost like its own city. So there's restaurants there. There's all these like services that you can get done. But what Nomads does in the camp is they minister primarily to the Christian community. There are believers in these camps, and they don't have any way to fellowship with one another.
Because this is typically a Muslim community, right?
Yeah. So the Middle East, most of the Middle East is Muslim. But the places they are operating in are typically friendly. So they won't put you in jail or anything for being a Christian if you're a Christian. But there's a lot of Muslims that live in these countries that just are still not very warm to that idea of the government doing that. The government's forward thinking in these countries. They want development. They want, open minds for things. So you can get persecution from just everyday people like other Muslims, right?
Do you see that in the actual camps?
Oh yeah. A lot of people have been persecuted.
So how are you treated when you go there?
They leave us alone. I've never had anything bad go. We're treated fairly well, but I've heard stories of believers in there being persecuted for their faith.
Like, what does that like physically abused?
Yeah, they can be physically abused. They'll just be, I mean, all kinds of profanities. Just make it hard for the people in the camps.
Yeah.
I mean, it can come in a number of different ways, but it's funny that when I was there in the camps, I would only have to be able to film with my phone. So I do bring cameras, but they want us to be kind of incognito so that we don't draw too much attention to ourselves. Because if the security there sees that I have this camera, they're like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" Because they don't want some kind of documentary to get filmed and put out there.
Because they don't want to know, because they're
Exactly.
ashamed and embarrassed by this.
Exactly.
Which is
Yeah, it's
crazy
against
to
the
me.
law. So
how long, when did you go out?
when did I go out? We would only go out at night. So these laborers work 12-hour days easily. Then they come at night, like 8, 9 o'clock. We'll have a service. So it's like a little Bible study. We'll get around, we'll sing. Some of the believers, they'll preach from the word. And then we fellowship over some drinks, just like orange juice and stuff. And that's pretty much the night. And then some nights they'll do 2 camps in a night. So the leaders from Nomads, they spend all day preparing for that night, and then they'll go out and do it. They'll do it over and over again.
Wow.
So every night they go out, they stay up late. We were up late every night till like midnight, 1, 2 a.m.
And these people are then getting up, going a few hours of sleep, and going to work all day.
Yep. That's just a cycle. So,
but they're speaking English?
No, very few speak English in the camps.
So how do you communicate?
The leaders, so the 2 leaders that lead Nomads, one of them speaks like 5 or 6 different languages. They're both from Pakistan. So a lot of the people they are ministering to are from India, Pakistan. They can all understand each other. So,
Hey everybody, I wanted to talk to you about A+ Mortgage Solutions. They're one of our sponsors, Jeremy and Angie McMichael, not a couple, but they're phenomenal. They are great lenders. They have worked with hundreds of buyers on my team over the last couple of years. If you need help with a mortgage, whether it's a HELOC, a mortgage, anything, any questions you have, refinancing, check the link below. Their information is there. Now back to the episode. So when you go out there, what is the point of your travels? Like you as a missionary going there.
yeah. So
If there's already people there that are speaking the language with them, what would the point of you going out there be?
So my point is to plainly document what's going on, because without that, not people back home, they'll have no idea what's going on, and so they're not moved to give. So for people to be moved to give, they need to see the work being done. They need to see how God is moving, and to tug at their heartstrings so that they can give to the ministry, because the ministry is only funded by people who give.
Wow.
In the States.
Now, do you do a presentation at your church about this too? Like when you get back, did you talk about this?
I have not, but the reason I'm there is to create material so that the leadership can present to churches. So we're producing videos, photos, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and how long were you out there?
I was out there 10 days.
Yeah, don't
And that was my second trip. First trip, a lot of the same. Second trip, I didn't get to spend a lot of time with the leadership because they were just coming back from Pakistan from the holiday season. So they got there kind of at the tail end of my trip. But then the guy I traveled with, Adam Settle, he is moving there in March. So we had to get a bunch of stuff settled for him. His visa, furniture, all that stuff. So
Because there's things that I think I do that are good. Like I'm like, yeah, that was good. I did that. But like that to me is like beyond something I'd ever thought I could do. Like, and it scares me to even think about going, like that. Like there's people from churches of mine, they go to Ghana, they'll go, places in Africa, they travel, they go to India, like Matt Riggins, who's a dear friend of mine, who you know, Matt.
Yeah.
He's done, I guess, Ghana, India, Haiti, and they do wells. So living water.
Yeah, Haiti is the scary one.
It's scary. Like, and to me, it's not even just the scary of that it's Haiti, but just hepatitis C is very strong in Haiti. Like that's the stuff that scares me. And he's a father of 5. And people like him, yourself, they literally put their lives on, no offense, but you're putting your life on the line to go help others. Like how, like, is it trust and faith? Like trust in God? Like how do you get the let's just say it, the balls to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So someone said this once to me and it really stuck. Like, God never called you to safety.
Ugh.
And I was like, wow, that's true. Like, God doesn't call us to cower and just to try to be safe all the time. He calls us to come out of our comfort zone and do things for the kingdom that can help the people. So I've always thought of that, and it's stuck in my mind. Tim Cox told me that, who you might
Yep, I
know
know Tim. Yeah.
from the Grace Samaritan, and that's just always stuck with me. So I always think of that. I'm like, I'm not called to be comfort. I'm called to comfort others.
Yeah, because like for me,
So
it's like I like telling my story right here in front of that camera, the safety of this room. I like to speak in front of crowds, like business development, whatever it is, some type of corporate sponsored events. Like that's safety, and I know I'm helping, or at least I hope I'm helping.
yeah,
But to me, I'm still yet to work up to that point that people like yourself are doing, where it's like you put your life like, I mean, my gosh, Mac Riggins, he goes over there 2-3 times a year, and that's his actual career.
he does the wells.
Yeah, he does living water. So and they do the big race in November, and but his entire, it's funny with him, and his income is based off how much money he raises. So like
Mm-hmm.
he makes what he raises. So if he's like,
that's true missionary model. Like,
yeah, that to me is mind boggling. And like I remember a point in time where I was talking to another buddy of mine, Kyle, who coaches basketball in college now, but he used to run Push the Rock. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It is a basketball missionary group that basically pushes Christianity through basketball.
Okay.
So they'll travel the world talking
Very cool.
basketball, camps at Messiah, camps at schools and things like that. And like his whole salary was based on how much money he raised. And like, hey, we want you to make this much money this year. He's like, I don't want to make that much money this year. He's like, I'm comfortable raising this amount. I don't need that much money to live. And in my mind, like, cause I'm the consumer, that 1980s kid where it's like VCRs, which they don't exist anymore, Walkmans and like DVD players and then nice cars. And it's like, my mind's like, well, I got to make more to be happy. And that's not the reality.
It's not reality at all.
No. And it's hard for me to get past that, but I also didn't grow up as a Christian. I go to church now, I'm a Christian now, but that's not how I grew up.
Right.
Like I wasn't taught that as a kid. Like true being rich isn't always about money.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that when you're over there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do the people in the camps, like, do they love when you guys come over?
Yeah. They love seeing us. It's all about fellowship and friendship to them. They're like some of the kindest people. When you go over there and you're just, even though you can't really communicate, you can gesture and say things. And like, it's just, there's this common bond and they love getting together, it's just great. And I really think if you have not traveled overseas, even to like a third world country, go to a third world country and just experience it. I just implore people to do that because your mind will be changed in a lot of things. Yeah. Maybe you'd appreciate more what we have here.
Yeah, because I see things like I've been to, France and all those countries. I did go to Belize once and I went to some ghetto areas and I was like, no, I don't like this at all. But then there's part of me that thinks, I'm willing to share my story here, but I've never shared it at Cumberland County Prison. I've never shared it down on Kensington in Philadelphia. I mean, there might be better places for me to share my experience, strength, and hope to help others because I don't know if that's God's plan for me or not. I don't know. But ultimately, like, I start to feel a little guilty that I'm not doing more when I talk to people like you that are literally, and Matt, that are like literally going, and I know so many people that are doing it. Like there's, I used to go to a church called Camp Hill United Methodist, and they just sent a ton of people over to Africa, and they're over there right now. And I know for a fact, my old pastor, you fly in, and I forget the country they go to. You fly in, and then it's like an 8-hour bus ride down a dirt road to get to the camp that they're going to.
Yeah, I went to Uganda twice. We'd fly into the capital, stay there about a day or two, and then it was an 8-hour drive to the border with Kenya, to Busia, and so you drive through these little tiny towns, everyone's trying to sell you something on the side of the road. You see these kids all playing, they're happy, but they got like no shoes on, or one pair of clothes.
Yeah, no shoes.
Like, yeah, it's a different world.
Yeah, what do you think when you, like, how do you feel when you come home and you get to sit on your couch, turn on your TV and put your hands around your kids? Like, emotionally, doesn't that just like overwhelm you sometimes?
Yeah,
Not in a bad way.
It's kind of a mixture of emotions. Like I feel very, very grateful and thankful, but then I'm like, wow, I wish I could do more.
Yeah.
But then who is it to me to say that they're not happy and they need anything else?
That's the funny thing, because they are happy, most of them.
It's an American mindset to say they need what we have.
Real quick, I wanted to give a shout out to Deer Valley Land Transfer. When buying your home in the state of Pennsylvania or anywhere in the country, it's important to have title insurance to make sure there are no liens against the property or anything that may not be known, whether it's about the deed, size of the property, anything that you can find out that could be negative or harmful for you in the future. They protect you. This is an insurance that is mandated if you're getting a mortgage, and if you're paying cash, you should still do it anyway. Deer Valley Land Transfer.
I don't know. I think they just need Jesus.
Soccer. Yes. Yeah. Soccer with no shoes, playing. The kids all have smiles. You don't see many videos where they're not smiling. And I'm not saying they're not suffering, because there's a lot of suffering.
There's a lot of healthcare issues that could be addressed. And I've been wanting to go on a medical mission. So I'm looking at some possible ones to go on.
Yeah, that's another person, like a doctor. They go to school all their lives and they pay for they become they have a doctor of medicine. They're an MD. And then all of a sudden they spend 6 years in Africa working for nothing. And I'm just like, wow, like, I just can't believe that's what people are doing. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, like, I can't believe that people have that willingness to do that they're so, caring. And it's not that they don't care about themselves, but they care so much about other people. Mm-hmm. Like, just not a way I was brought up.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not a way that I saw things growing up. But now it's like a different view. So our church right now, there's some, I don't remember what type of communities they are. Maybe Somalian, and they're in Michigan right now helping out.
Okay.
And that's one I think I'd be willing to do. Like, because I just want to kind of get my foot in the door, because I'm really nervous to do one.
You should just go. Just do it. I'll go with you.
Well, they're there now, so we don't have to go now.
Well, if you want to go overseas, just let me know.
Okay.
We'll go together.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when's your next trip plan? Do you have one yet?
I do not have anything in the books right now. We are going to go visit my in-laws in the Dominican. So that's not really a missions trip, but I have been to the Dominican several times for mission work.
That's where Mary's parents live?
Mary's brother and his family.
Oh, brother and his family. Okay. And they're doing mission work there.
Yep. They are church planners. Yep.
Wow. Because I've been to the Dominican. Mm-hmm. You do not leave your resort. Like, that's the rule.
I felt comfortable enough. I mean, especially in the capital. My wife and I visited there a couple of years ago for our anniversary, and as long as you can speak a little bit of English, a baño, like, where's the bathroom?
Yeah,
you're fine. Wow. But if you go out of the capital, yeah, I mean, it's a little dicey, but
yeah, because I remember taking like a limo from the resort to like a jewelry store, but you had to stay with the limo driver, really? Yada yada yada. But I had a friend, Brenna. Her and her husband just went to Colombia last year, and I was like,
oh my gosh.
It's like, that is crazy. She's like, yeah, we were comfortable. We were fine.
My brother-in-law won't even drive at night. Like, he's like, I can't, because he said it's a little too risky, especially if he comes from the capital to where they live. It's a 4-hour drive. And so he won't do it at night because it's just too.
Yeah, because you could get stopped.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. Yet he still lives there.
Mm-hmm.
That's mind-boggling. Like, that's this.
Yeah. He has 2 little kids. So.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Ben, you going?
He says, yeah.
Yeah. So to me, like, just the ability to go out and do those things is amazing, and watch, like, and I think that's one of the reasons why you've been so blessed with this growth of this business. It's not like I'm going to do this, so I expect this in return, but we know that that's how it happens, Mm-hmm. Like, if you're giving, you will get things in return. I talk to one of my best friends, Jared, about it all the time, and he's struggled through life. So have I, but it's funny to listen to him say things like, I prayed about it this morning and it came true. Like, that's not the Jared I grew up with, to hear him say things like, you know what, we just trust. Like, I trust that everything's going to be taken care of, because if we put it in his hands, it's all going to be fine.
Yeah.
And just knowing that for me has been like the biggest thing in the world, because it takes a lot of pressure.
It takes a lot of faith, right?
It takes
to
faith.
do that.
It takes faith, but it also just takes, well, faith and trust, but it takes a lot of weight off my shoulders, knowing that he will provide for me. And that's been the biggest thing, because
the weight that's lifted is that I don't need to do it on my own, because we try as sinful creatures to do everything on our own without God's strength.
Yep. And even in sobriety,
lift.
there was a part in sobriety in one of the readings, and it was like, we will no longer fear economic something. And I was like, my mind for years was like, all I can see is these dollar signs lined up in my pockets. Because that's what I thought this meant.
Okay.
And I was probably 10 years sober when I heard it again. I was like, oh, that means it's not that important. Like for 10 years, my one was like, this means I'm going to get rich. Like that's what sobriety is going to give me, is rich. I'm going to have money. Yeah. But then I realized that's not at all what it meant. But I probably heard this 1,000 times until I realized, I was like, wow, this is not about money. This is about having the comfortability, like where it's not that important, where as long as I do the next right thing, I'm going to be okay. Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Ben does, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So for me, just to be able to sit here with you and just talk about it and understand that there is more than we can do.
Yeah.
And there's a girl, Marissa, which I'm actually going to have on the show. She's a local girl that works at Deloitte. She's coming on soon, and she's going to talk about other things that we can do, especially locally, because everybody's like, well, there's so much to do outside of the country and different countries, but the amount of stuff that needs help locally is mind-boggling.
Yeah, we work with several local nonprofits, a lot of them in human trafficking, anti-human trafficking work. So Green Light Operations is one.
Yep, they were on the show.
Yep. So we work with them. Yeah, there's a lot you can do locally.
You guys do stuff with them through your church, or just on the side stuff?
We do stuff with them as a business. So we cover some events for them. They've been in here and shot some content. So
yeah. Oh, actually, Ben, you guys were at the event when I was with Taylor. You guys filmed that entire event.
Yeah,
in Elizabethtown at the Star Barn. Wasn't that?
How long ago was that?
The gala.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an amazing event.
Yep.
Yeah, I love what they do, because I would have never met them. I don't even know how I got in contact. Oh, Micah. I got in contact with through Micah Davis. Micah Davis came on. Micah. Shout out to Micah, also a lender. But him and Jordan, is her name Jordan?
Jordan Pine, yeah.
Yeah, Jordan Pine, they came on the show, and I always knew that was kind of a thing, because I live in Middlesex Township where the Miracle Mile is. So the Miracle Mile is between I-81 and I-76, and it's a mile stretch where anything that's coming from, out of, whatever, the northeast corridor of this country is going right through that little section. So obviously there's issues with prostitution, sex trafficking, all that stuff is huge there. And like I said, I didn't know much about it until obviously they came on the show.
Yeah.
But they also put a different perspective and spin on it, where they were talking about how it happens in high schools now. It's like, hey, if you want a prom ticket with so-and-so, you have to do this with so-and-so. And that is sex trafficking.
Right. Yep, you're coercing someone into doing an act. Yep.
So what, and like, to me, that it sickens me. Because literally that school is right there.
Yep.
And it happens everywhere. But this is a big problem in our area.
Yeah. So I implore people to get involved in your local nonprofits that are doing the work to counter that stuff.
Yeah.
It's important.
Real quick, I wanted to give a shout out to Deer Valley Land Transfer. When buying your home in the state of Pennsylvania or anywhere in the country, it's important to have title insurance to make sure there are no liens against the property or anything that may not be known, whether it's about the deed, size of the property, anything that you can find out that could be negative or harmful for you in the future. They protect you. This is an insurance that is mandated if you're getting a mortgage, and if you're paying cash, you should still do it anyway. Deer Valley Land Transfer. So I'll be actually doing some video stuff on regular content soon that Marissa sent me, and who, like I said, is an amazing woman, just talking about some local stuff you guys can get involved with, because there are tons of things, whether it's getting involved with Operation Green Light Operation, the people that are cleaning Allison Hill, what's their names again? Do you remember?
Oh, yes. I remember they were on here.
Yeah, they're amazing too. I cannot think of their names, but there's so many different locations and places and people to help locally, that for for people like Nate, Matt Riggins, and my other friends that are leaving the country, that's amazing. But if you're saying I'm too afraid to do that, like I am sometimes, most of the time, there's stuff locally that we can do that can help out as well. And like I said, this show is not about just a good hustle or somebody being able to, hey, this is what I did. This is my story. Here's how I built a brand. Here's how I built a business, which you've done. But it's also about, like you said, imploring people to help others. And if this show can plant one seed today where somebody says, you know what, I've been on the fence about going to India with my church for years, and hearing your story and understanding, or, hearing us talk about today, if that implores you to actually go do it, that's amazing. We want those things to happen. And if you have questions, I know Ben can put some content or some links down at the bottom for how to get a hold of Nate or whatever, things like that. And we can get you in contact with some people to help out as well, because it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's next door. It's, just south of the border, north of the border. It's in other countries. It's in the Middle East. There's camps, there's things, there's laborers, there's all sorts of people that need help. It's not just here, it's everywhere.
Yeah. I implore business owners, especially when I started the business, I was like, as we are successful, I want to take that success and I want to use it for good. Like if you are a successful business owner, you have means to give to nonprofits, to walk alongside nonprofits, and to do the work. And it's only through the people doing that and good people that we can change the world. So let's change the world together, right?
Yeah, amen. Great show. Thanks, buddy.